For the regular season finale for the Baylor Bears, they play host to Houston. This is a Houston team sitting at 18-1 in Big 12 play. They've been a little bit shaky though, guy. Like Kansas gave them a good game, Cincinnati gave them a good game. Eh, They went on the road and kind of struggled with Texas Tech before that, a Texas Tech team that didn't have Chance McMillan or Darian Williams. So I mean, I've loved this Houston team for most of this year. It does kind of feel like Baylor's getting them at a good time. And yet, I don't know. I'm still struggling to see just like how Baylor could pull this off. But what are you looking for out of this matchup?
Well, you notice how you said they had a tough time with those teams and not that they lost to those teams?
Correct.
Uh, because I'm looking right here and I'm seeing a lot of W's. In fact, the most recent loss, Riley, for this Houston team was an overtime loss on February 1st to Texas Tech, which is a team that I mean, I'm gonna say it in pencil, obviously, because I don't have their path yet, but a team that I am very interested in putting in the Final Four in
Hmm.
my bracket.
Hmm.
So you beat Caleb Love, who we all know is the greatest basketball player who has ever walked the earth.
Hmm.
Uh, there is you beat Iowa State, who's been my preseason national championship pick, and I've stuck with it the whole way through.
You can go
Uh,
ahead and burn that one, guy. But yeah, keep going.
yeah, admittedly, it does take a little bit of my credibility away right now, but there's all of this jargon we can throw around like, oh, their margin of victory, oh, their efficiency numbers, whatever it
Hmm.
is. They're winning basketball games.
Yeah.
Now, this might be because I I am of a small mind. I'm not, an elite mathematician, but I'm seeing a lot of wins. And at the end of the day, as much as you want to nitpick this Houston team, oh, um, Milos Uzan hasn't, taken the scoring jump we thought when he was transferring from Oklahoma, or yeah, whatever weird inconsistencies you may see in the team. Like
Hmm.
at the end of the day, they're winning games, and Baylor is I think the 8-9 line is going to be crazy. It's going to have Baylor, Kansas, Illinois, BYU, New Mexico, all these great teams. But I think that this Baylor team actually deserves to be there. They have no depth. I mean, they're six deep, seven deep.
Yeah, the eight line is kind of stinky. I'm not into this Baylor team. You really could have you could have made the point by saying Houston's winning games, Baylor isn't. I know they've won two in a row against TCU and Oklahoma State. I still consider those Big 12 bottom dwellers, particularly the Sooners, Sooners, sorry, Cowboys. Even before that, they lost a game to like a really bad Colorado team, and
Colorado stinks.
it was a three-game losing streak. It's like it's tough to figure this team out because on paper you would expect them to be worse defensively than they are because they are so small. They're 62nd in the country. They're middle of the pack in Big 12 play. They've been playing more zone. They run like a 1-3-1 sort of hybrid defense that kind of frustrates teams a little bit, but they can't clean the glass because they're playing that zone. And in addition to their lack of size, unless I mean, it's really just Omir. That's kind of all they're the only one who's really getting to the glass. And in addition, I don't know. It feels like the guards are just too inconsistent for where you would expect or where you would want for a small team to be. And, I kind of try to play it up a little bit to at least add some dramatic flair at the start by saying Baylor's getting them at a good time with Houston sort of struggling with these teams. But I think when you get down to the brass tacks, it's like a small team going up against Houston that throughout Kelvin Sampson's tenure, they've branded themselves on physicality. And it's not just these bigs just aren't even physical. They're also skilled, like Jawan Roberts and JoJo Tugler. Both of those guys can pass a little bit. They can make plays on the perimeter. And if you think about them, if you have Jawan Roberts, for instance, cutting along the baseline, and you have one of Houston's wings working the short corner against that 1-3-1 zone, they're going to find the open man, and it's going to lead to easy baskets. I love that you mentioned Uzan as well. I think Milos Uzan has been, or Uzan, I always struggle with the pronunciation of his name.
I
Uzan,
struggle with the pronunciation of a lot of names, Riley.
it's but I did actually look it up because it's funny. I was like, is it Milos or Milos? Because I know I've been corrected on it before. I checked Houston's website. It's Milos. Milos has been really good since that loss against Texas Tech in particular. Over this 9 game winning streak, shooting 54% from three. He's averaging 14 points a game. Like he's one of the he's not Jamal Shed. He's not on the Quentin Grimes level in terms of when you're thinking about these former pros or
Whoa, whoa, we're
Marcus
not going to
Sasser.
mention Marcus
I
Sasser?
just mentioned Marcus Sasser. I said Marcus Sasser.
You said Jamal Shed.
I said Jamal Shed. I said Quentin Grimes, and then you said whoa, whoa, whoa. And as you said that, I said or
Okay.
Marcus Sasser. I got you,
Okay.
guy. I got
Uh,
you. I'm not gonna put him on the level of those three guys who are pros in terms of like the offensive alphas that carried Houston teams. Usan is like he's really coming into his own, and I think to me it's he has a really good feel for the game that sort of pops when you watch whether it's like he's good at attacking drop coverages, he's good at hitting like going to his in between game, hitting floaters, and his 3 point shot has just gotten way more reliable than it was last year. Like I'm even if they've like played with their food a little bit, just the matchup on paper, I kind of see Houston having their way with the Bears.
yeah, it pains me to say this, but Houston is just head and shoulders the better team. And I don't I mean this with all due respect to Baylor. I love this Baylor team. I am a huge Jalen Celestine guy. I am a huge Jaden Nunn guy. I am a huge Robert Wright guy. I am a huge VJ Edgecombe guy. Like I Riley, we've talked a lot offline as well in our group chat. I have talked about how much I like these guys a lot throughout the year. Anytime I get on a Baylor preview, especially Jaden Nunn defensively, I always throw in something about how I think, oh, he could be an X factor with, getting out and running. But it just hasn't been there this year. I mean, those four guys are as big of guys as you can
Mm-hmm.
get, and even now, I'm starting to think, okay, this might not be a second weekend caliber team.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, I don't think you're at any risk of missing the tournament. You're Baylor, you're Scott Drew, you're fine. I mean, your last game is Houston, and then you go into the Big 12 tournament. Like, you're fine. But I don't think that this is the team that I thought going in.
Mm-hmm.
This is an embarrassing thing to say. I thought VJ Edgecombe could have challenged Cooper Flag to be the number one pick going into the year.
I,
Um,
I was very in on Edgecombe as well. I thought he'd for sure be a top three pick. He's played well as of late. I think the 3 point shot's way more streaky than I expected it to be, even though I know that was kind of his big question mark going into college.
he's
Um,
at his best when he's turning corners.
yeah, I agree. Some might even say when never mind.
Oh, are you going to say something with edges?
No, I was gonna say when he swerves, bends that corner low, and make a pop culture reference that would have been like way funnier 4 weeks ago. But yeah, when he gets into the paint and like he's been really good at collapsing defenses and kicking out the shooters. I think that's where again you see some of that high level processing, the more than just like an athletic rim pressure guard, but he still obviously has that in his bag. I I just don't know if that's going to be enough in this game. Like you need Jeremy Roach to look like Duke Jeremy Roach, and he's playing like 20 minutes a game right now. Jeremy Roach kind of looks like a shell of himself. I don't know,
Give me
Langston.
Robert Wright, VJ Edgecombe, and Jaden Nunn as the starting guards.
Yeah, I mean that's what they've been doing. I think that they've been bringing Roach off the bench. I can't remember. They've started Langston Love in some games as well. But yeah,
I
I think
really, I think you need Celestine's size though.
yeah,
This is the
yeah.
problem with missing Ojonwuna or
Mhm.
Ojon. I've heard both.
A John
Uh,
Winna.
Ojonwuna. That's what we're saying. Okay, I sound like an idiot. I've called him Ojonwuna all year. Uh, but with him being gone, I think you need Celestine size, and I know he's not a traditional four or even a three, but he's 6'7". I know he's like a very big stretch the floor, or not very big
Yeah, I
stretch
get
the
what you're
floor
saying.
guy. He's more of a guard than he is
Right.
a forward. But I think you need that size compared to a guy like Langston Love, who is 6'5", six
hmm
four.
hmm
Uh,
Yeah, he's like a generous
Size is
six
what worries
five.
me.
Yeah, I feel you on that. Yeah, it's a major size mismatch, and I think in order for Baylor to have any sort of chance, it needs like a 25 point, like probably 6 assists outing from Edgecombe. It needs, I would guess, somewhere to like 7 or 8 combined threes from Nunn and Roach. It probably needs like a 6, 7 assist game from Rob Wright with minimal turnovers. But honestly, that's just what worries me. Like this Baylor team as a whole on the season, they've been okay at taking care of the ball. I know Wright has had some freshman mistakes, but he has the ball in his hand so much that it's hard to knock him. Or like, and
I
he's
love Robert Wright.
yeah, I
He's
love Robert Wright too. Just against, I don't know if I love Rob Wright against this Houston defense. Baylor as a team, they've
because they're
turned the
not
ball.
just big, they're long too as well, which is
Yeah,
what really gets you. Like
yeah.
JoJo Tugler's wingspan is ridiculous. It's like
Hmm.
Michael Ajayi, but with better fine motor skills. It's absurd.
Yeah, and even to that point, Baylor's turned the ball over at least 10 times in 10 of its past 12 games. That's what worries me in this one because this Houston team is like that kind of what has taken their defense up another level is how much they've forced turnovers. They've done it this year. They forced it at even a higher clip last year, but the past 2 seasons we've seen Houston really add that to their bag. So
I
uh,
do want to say though, Riley, I was just on a BYU preview with Tariq, talking about how they won. You should go watch that preview, by the way, everyone watching. But BYU won a game turning the ball over 29 times and only turning Iowa
oh,
State over 11 times.
that was super impressive. Yeah, I that some of those turnovers were bad too. So
It's fresh, same similar thing. Yegor Demon and Rob Wright, both sort of freshmen as primary
mhm.
ball handlers.
It's a good point. Good point. Well, let's go ahead and get a score prediction in this one. Or at least tell me, like, I think Houston wins this one probably by like 10 to 12 points. I wouldn't be surprised if Baylor maybe had a little home crowd boost, hit some big shots in the first like 12 to
Baylor has one
16
of the best
minutes.
home courts in the country.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not, I'll give them that, but
We love the Lair.
I think it's something where like as soon as it hits the second half, Stanford, sorry, I just, I, I'm
Stanford.
I have Twitter pulled up in the background, and my algorithm is recommending I follow Stanford men's basketball. It knows how much I love Maxime Reynaud, but I'm not giving that account a follow. Before I think
You're not an Agarwal guy?
I'm not an Agarwal guy. I'm really just a Reynaud guy. Reynaud and Osiah Sellers. I like Osiah Sellers, but anyway, I think second half Houston flips a switch. They don't look back and kind of remind everybody like, oh yeah, it's cute that you all love Texas Tech. It's cute that they do the whole fun offense. Grant McCaslin, next guy up. But Kansas is washed, and Tech, you still get like this league still runs through Houston.
I also think this league runs through Houston. I think Houston wins the basketball game. I think that they do it pretty handily. Yeah, I'm going to predict an exact score. And if this score happens, I will be very excited on the recap. Give me Houston 74, Baylor 65.
Houston 74, Baylor 65, so a 9 point win.
9 point win, but I think some of that is just because we get garbage time
Mm-hmm.
the last
Who
two
was
minutes.
that? Yeah, that was like the final margin last time these two teams played. Like Houston was up by 25 in the second half, and I think only won by 9. So, um,
It's
guy calling
almost like I watch the games.
guy calling history to repeat itself.